In this tutorial, I'm going to talk about how the note selection algorithm works in Slippery Chicken. So during the initialization, we've got to the point where we've got a rhythm sequence for a particular instrument, and we've got the particular set that we're going to select pitches from. So we need to actually look at how those pitches are selected according to the pitch curve for the rhythm sequence. The first thing we need to do is limit the current set to the instrument's range, because of course the set might range in pitches over the whole range of the piano or even further, and an instrument like the violin can only play down to the G below middle C, so we need to only include in the selection algorithm notes that the instrument can play. So after that point, when we've done the limiting, we also remove pitches that have been played by the other players. This is if you want that to happen. You can actually turn that off if you set the avoid used notes argument to Slippery Chicken to be nil. But by default, it will actually avoid some of the notes that the other instruments have played so that we get as many pitches from the set selected over all of the instruments playing at any given point. Now, if the current set has a subset with the same ID as the subset ID slot for the current instrument, then only pitches common to that subset will be used in the step I've just described. See the documentation for more details there, as that's a little bit of an advanced topic. Now, if the ratio between the number of pitches available from the set and the number of different pitches in the pitch sequence is less than the value in the Slippery Chicken slot pitch seek index scalar min, it means we're going to have to add pitches that have been used by other players until there are enough. Once we've added notes from other instruments to get this ratio up to the minimum required value, the lowest number in the pitch sequence will now select the lowest pitch in the set that's in the instrument's range. However, if there are enough pitches without adding pitches used by other instruments, then where in the available pitches the lowest number of the pitch sequence will be placed depends on whether the prefers notes slot of the current instrument is set to high or low. If it's set to high, then the highest number in the pitch sequence will result in the highest pitch in the available pitches that's in the instrument's range. If the prefers note slot is low, then the lowest number in the pitch sequence will result in the lowest pitch in the available pitches that's in the instrument's range. If the user hasn't set this slot, then the range of the pitch sequence will correspond to the middle of the available pitches. There are two caveats here though, if the instrument's prefers note slot is nil. If the lowest number in the pitch sequence is 5 or higher, then we will proceed as if the prefers note slot is set to high. Also, if the lowest number in the pitch sequence is 1, we'll proceed as if the prefers note slot is set to low. These numbers, 5 and 1, are actually global constants, and you can change them if you want. See the documentation for how to do that. The number of pitches that we consider to be enough before adding pitches from other players is determined by the pitch seek index scalar min argument, and this is 0.5 by default, but it's also a Slippery Chicken slot, so you can change that if you want to. At this point, the pitch sequence numbers need to be offset and scaled before they can be used as indices into the available pitches. So there's a minimum scalar that's acceptable as just described, and anything below this would result in more notes being added. If at this point though there's still no available pitches, the function will actually trigger an error and exit because we simply can't get pitches for the instrument. For example, this could happen if the value of the set limits high or low takes the available pitches outside of the instrument's range. If we succeed, however, the pitch sequence numbers are now offset and scaled, and they'll be rounded in order to be used as indices into the pitch list. If any of those pitch sequence numbers are in parentheses, this indicates that we need to call the instrument's chord function to select a chord at that approximate pitch height. Once the pitches are selected, the set marks them as used by one of the players so that they won't be used by other instruments unless absolutely necessary. Also at this point, there will be an attempt made to avoid melodic octaves on adjacent notes. You can switch this off if you want to, but generally they'll be avoided where possible, and a warning will be issued if it's not possible. Take a look at the manual page on your screen now for how the pitch selection algorithm chooses different notes for different instruments given the same pitch sequence curve, as influenced by the ranges of the instruments.